The moon hung high over Giza, casting a silver glow across the back of the great Sphinx. The crowds had vanished, the vendors had packed away their scarves, and the desert was quiet except for the soft wind and the two figures who remained. Dr. Elena Faraday stood at the edge of history, her heart pounding as she prepared to enter a newly discovered fissure near the Sphinx's flank. With her was Hassan, an Egyptian inspector, steady and watchful. Their permit allowed them just 4 hours that night, 4 hours to challenge 5,000 years of accepted history. Elena knelt, shining her torch into the narrow gap. What she saw first wasn't a hieroglyph, but a pattern of erosions, soft, rounded grooves, like the marks left by water. Every textbook she'd ever read insisted the Giza Plateau was bone dry when the Sphinx was carved. Yet here was evidence, stubborn and undeniable, glimmering back at her in the moonlight. Hassan noticed her surprise. "I've guided many foreign scholars," he said, his voice gentle, "but none have stared at rock as if it might answer them in English." "It's answering in geology," Elena replied quietly. "And geology never lies." She reached into the crevice, brushing away sediment. The stone gave way to empty space large enough for a person to crawl through. Her pulse quickened. She hadn't come to Egypt chasing legends. She'd come chasing patterns. 14 years earlier, as a graduate student, she'd been laughed out of a symposium for suggesting that the Sphinx's weathering pointed to a much older origin, perhaps 12,000 years ago or more. Too radical, too far outside the mainstream. The memory of that laughter still echoed in her dreams. Now, the desert itself was opening a door. Hassan hesitated. "We should alert the ministry before we go further." If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe and join us for more stories where history's secrets come alive. "Yes," Elena said. But even as she spoke, she slid her shoulders into the fissure. The rational voice in her head called her reckless, but a deeper voice, the one that had made her stare at the stars as a chill urged her on. The limestone corridor sloped downward, grains crunching beneath her knees. Hassan followed, whispering prayers. After 20 meters, the passage widened. Elena froze. Before her stood 2 ancient bronze braziers, their rims corroded to green. But it was what lay beyond that stole her breath. A tablet, carved in wedge-shaped cuneiform script, Mesopotamian, not Egyptian. She looked back at Hassan. "Sumerian artifacts beneath the Sphinx. This changes everything." He swallowed hard. "It changes Egypt." They raised a lamp. The tablet's message, though weathered, was clear. "In the reign of Alalu, king of the first city, when the rivers sought the sky and the lion watched the dawn, we brought the stones across the sea of grass and set the guardian where the flood once broke." Elena's mind raced. Alalu, a mythic king from pre-dynastic Sumer, perhaps 10,000 years before the present, if he existed at all. The text spoke of a lion, guardian, and a flood. Her heartbeat matched the ancient rhythm she could almost hear. Hassan lifted another object from the dusta crystal lens, perfectly ground, still faintly luminous. He held it to his eye, and the chamber's walls erupted in constellations, hidden etchings revealed by the refracted light. Elena saw a sky map, the stars arranged not as they appear now, but as they would have looked around 10,500 BCE, when the constellation Leo rose due east at the equinox. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Sand cascaded through the passage. Hassan darted toward the exit. The tremor faded, but Elena sensed more than just shifting earth. Someone knew they were there. They emerged to find headlights sweeping the plateau. A convoy of black SUVs idled nearby, engines rumbling. Men in plain suits approached, flashlights in hand. Their leader, tall and sharp-eyed, flashed a diplomatic badge. "Dr. Faraday, Professor Hassan. I'm Agent Mercer, United States Antiquities Liaison. You're trespassing outside authorized hours." His smile was cold. Elena stood her ground. "The Ministry stamped our permit." "Permit revoked. Effective 20 minutes ago," Mercer replied, holding out a sealed document. "You'll leave your equipment and any artifacts for secure transport." Hassan protested. "Sir, the find is Egyptian patrimony." Mercer's gaze flicked to the bulge beneath Hassan's vest crystal lens. "That object, please." Elena stepped forward. "Under the UNESCO Convention, on-site artifacts can't be moved without." Mercer cut her off. "UNESCO answers to geopolitical reality, Doctor, and reality is shaped by those who manage the past." He gestured, and 2 guards advanced. It happened fast to scuffle. Hassan pushed to the sand, the lens sliding from his grasp. Elena lunged, closing her fist around it. The guards reached for her, but Mercer stopped them. "Let her keep it," he said, voice low. "One fragment alone will never prove what you think. Without context, you'll sound like a lunatic on late-night radio." Elena felt the weight of his threat. Half-truths could bury the whole. Still, she pressed the lens to her chest as the convoy sealed off the fissure behind caution tape. The desert wind howled a sound as old as the stones themselves. Back in Cairo, Elena and Hassan hid away in a hotel room overlooking the Nile. They pored over high-resolution photos and rubbings from the tablet. Dates, star positions, references to a red priesthood who kept the lions secret. At dawn, the news broke. A gas line had accidentally exploded near the Sphinx, sealing an unrecorded cavity. Authorities denied any artifacts were present. Elena's phone buzzed with condolences. Her dig, it seemed, had ended in disaster. She turned off the screen. "They'll erase us from memory." Hassan's voice shook. "Then we must outrun memory." They boarded a train south to Luxor, seeking Amal Botros, an astrophysicist turned hieroglyph expert. Amal greeted them in a shaded cafe, her eyes bright behind horn-rimmed glasses. When she saw the lens, she was transfixed. Under its shimmering focus, Amal traced lines on papyrus. These stars marked the precession of Earth's axis. Whoever made this map understood astronomical cycles spanning 26,000 years. She paused, awed. Such precision wasn't achieved again until Hipparchusite 1,000 years later. A hush fell. Then Amal whispered, "If the Sphinx was already old in Alalu's time, who carved it?" The question unsettled Elena. The Sphinx's head was too small for its body. Many believed it once had a lion's face, later reshaped by pharaohs. What if the body belonged to a civilization lost to the cataclysmic floods of the Younger Dryas? The same flood myths echoed around the world. They decided to reveal everything at the upcoming International Symposium on Archaeoastronomy in Athens. Amal had contacts, Hassan had the ministry's ear, Elena had the fire. But someone else had the match. 2 nights before their flight, as they worked in Amal's study, the power cut out. The room went black, except for Elena's laptop. Suddenly, glass shattered a tear gas canister. Shadowed figures burst in, grabbing the laptop, the camera, the rubbings. Elena clutched the lens, but a baton struck her wrist, and it skittered across the floor. Hassan tried to intervene, and was struck down. Amal screamed. The intruders vanished into the night. When the lights returned, the room was wrecked, their data gone. They found the lens, unbroken, under a bookshelf, a single surviving witness to a forgotten age. Fear threatened to overwhelm Elena, but something deeper steadied her. They still had memory cards hidden in Hassan's coat duplicate photos, star charts. Enough, they hoped, to prove their case. In Athens, the symposium buzzed with debate. Elena stepped to the podium, slides ready. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady, I submit evidence that the Great Sphinx predates dynastic Egypt by at least 7 millennia. The room erupted as images flashed. Water-worn grooves, the cuneiform tablet, the sky map revealed by the lens. Science stirred. Dogma bristled. In the crowd, Elena spotted Mercer, watching, his expression unreadable. During questions, Professor Llewellyn, her old adversary, stood. Dr. Faraday, your artifacts are curiosities. Without in situ verification, they could be forgeries. Do you have independent dating? Any inscriptions naming the Sphinx directly? Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Elena felt the weight of the room shift. Mercer's smile widened. She answered, Our samples await thermoluminescence testing at Oxford. Preliminary analysis suggests. Llewellyn cut her off. Suggestions are not science. Applause followed, polite but skeptical. The moderator moved on. Elena's shoulders sagged. She had offered her treasure to reason, and reason, twisted by pride and politics, rejected it. That night, Amal found her on the hotel roof, city lights blurring the horizon. Truth survives ridicule, Amal said softly, but it needs guardians. Elena laughed, hollow. Like a lion of stone? Amal shook her head. Like people who refuse to be tamed. She pressed a flash drive into Elena's hand. Cloud backups. Mirrors everywhere. They can break laptops, not starlight. A sudden explosion echoed below a car bomb. Flames rose, sirens wailed. Hassan stumbled from the lobby, motioning them to escape. In the chaos, Elena glimpsed Mercer disappearing into the night. They fled Athens by ferry, traveling under aliases, avoiding digital trails. Their destination, Göbekli Tepe, in southeastern Turkey, the oldest known stone temple, its pillars carved with the same lion as on the Sphinx's hidden tablet. If they could connect the sites, the story might outrun censorship. The journey was a blur of bus stations, stolen Wi-Fi, and nights in remote villages. Every encounter felt dangerous, but each hardship bound them closer to the mystery and to each other. At dawn on the 12th day, they stood among Göbekli Tepe's ancient pillars. Frost shimmered on the stone animals. Amal aligned the lens to the first light. A beam refracted onto a pillar, illuminating a carving, a lion's head crowned by 7 stars, the Pleiades, just as on the Sphinx map. Hassan whispered, "Brother and sister monuments." Elena felt the ground shift beneath her note with fear, but with understanding. The lens, the star map, the erosion, they were all part of one story. Perhaps a seafaring culture once spanned the Fertile Crescent and the Nile, building monuments to warn future generations of coming cataclysms. Perhaps the Sphinx watched not just over tombs, but over time itself. In that moment, Elena saw the real enemy was not Mercer or academic pride, but amnesias, the slow erosion of memory that civilizations cannot survive. The same force that buried Göbekli Tepe, that weathered the Sphinx, now threatened to lull humanity back to sleep. She knelt, pressing her palm to the cold pillar. She imagined ancient craftsmen chiseling under unfamiliar stars, knowing their names would be forgotten, but carving anyway so that someday, when the stars returned, someone might remember. Behind her, footsteps crunched. She turned, expecting Hassan or Amal, but found Mercer, gun lowered but ready. His face was tired, almost regretful. "Doctor," he said, "you've made this hard. I'm not here to kill you, but I can't let you spread unverifiable myths. Civilization thrives on stable narratives." Elena met his gaze. Civilization decays without truth. Mercer's laugh was rough. Truth is a mosaic. Remove one tile carelessly, the picture shatters. These stones could rewrite history, undermine every textbook, every timeline. "Maybe they should," she said. Sirens sounded in the valley local security, summoned by Mercer. The wind whipped dust between them. Amal stepped forward, lens in hand. You want verification? Then verify the sky. She tossed the lens to Mercer. He caught it, and as the sun rose, a ray pierced the crystal, lighting up the lion Pleiades carving. Symbols blazed blue, pigments awakened after 12,000 years. Mercer stared, stunned. For a moment, he stood inside the mind of the ancient builders. Then the lens cracked in his hand. The light vanished. Stillness followed. Mercer lowered his weapon, as if enforcement no longer made sense. Someone will have to tell the story right, he whispered. Elena exhaled, feeling the weight of centuries lift. She realized Mercer was conceding not to her, but to the truth. History, like water, finds every crack. In the weeks that followed, images of the illuminated pillars spread across the world. Labs authenticated the pigments as older than dynastic Egypt. The Ministry of Antiquities launched an investigation, but the story could not be contained. School children from Osaka to Ottawa began drawing the Sphinx with waves at its paws. Elena never returned to Cambridge. She founded an institute in Luxor, devoted to pre-flood civilizations. Hassan became its field director, Amal its celestial archivist. Tourists at Giza noticed something strange. The Sphinx's face seemed less eroded, as if, in being seen, it had shed a layer of oblivion. Years later, on a quiet evening, Elena walked the causeway between Karnak and Luxor. Lanterns floated on the Nile like memories fragile, luminous, unstoppable. A girl selling postcards tugged her sleeve. Is it true the Sphinx is the world's oldest storyteller? Elena smiled. It's true. The Sphinx waits for listeners. The girl ran off, laughter rising into the twilight. Elena turned to the stars, watching Orion climb the sky. The past was no longer a closed tomb, but a living desert, wide, wind-sculpted, and whispering across generations. Remember, if you enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of the ancient world, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. There are more secrets waiting in the sands, and together we'll uncover them.